is fascinating, and I highly advise anyone listening to look into that. Look at thegovernmentrag.com, and we're going to callers right now because I know this information. I know they have a lot of questions for Stephanie. First caller is Julio from Illinois. Julio, do you have a question or comment for our guest?
Well, I do. I interviewed Wayne Manson. I think it was maybe a couple of months or a couple of weeks after the shooting in Arizona, and he had linked Judge Roll as well to, I believe it was Judge Roll, Gabrielle Giffords, and another congressman from Texas were all exchanging notes to one another, and they were going to get set to, I think Gabrielle Giffords was going to get set to expose what was going on in Arizona linked to Operation Fast and Furious. And you guys were just mentioning about the videos, no CCTV cameras released, and I highly doubt CCTV cameras will be released in Colorado from the shooting. Supposedly, this Holmes man went into the theater, correct? Bought a ticket, and supposedly he left the emergency exits. Well, in this police state country that we live in, there are cameras all over the place. And
Yeah,
I saw Batman. I saw Batman on Monday, and I made a note to look where cameras were located in this movie theater. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, and there are cameras all over the place. So imagine a suburb of Denver near an Air Force base. There should be cameras everywhere.
Yeah, and like I said, in Aurora, where there's already heavy police state presence. Stephanie, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I would like to say, too, that I do agree with Wayne Manson's report about the fact that the ATF, they were going to expose that. And so that seems to be coming up, and it goes along with gun control.
Yeah, and Fast and Furious, of course, was the bone of contention when it came to the gun control debate. Fast and Furious blew up in their face, and gun control had no traction. And because of the Colorado shooting, that argument maybe has been tossed aside, and there may be solid concrete links between the victims involved in the Tucson shooting the year before and Fast and Furious. And that's not too much of a stretch. Fast and Furious has already killed 2,000 people, half a dozen U.S. cops. So what's a couple more important people?
And I do want to say too that the ATF did admit that they denied that Jared Lee Loughner's gun was involved in Fast and Furious, but yet they admitted that they were worried about it. So they haven't admitted, but they haven't denied either. So that's still under investigation, and I'm following the court documents on that.
Yeah, excellent. Julio, do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. I've been reading documents from New Jersey's Fusion Center, Homeland Security documents now. I even saw TSA documents where they're admitting that now even videotaping at a large gathering could be suspicious activity. And it's no surprise that Michael Chertoff has his nose around this whole TSA.
Oh yeah. He's already on the news talking about pre-delinquent crime and how we're going to need the naked body scanners everywhere. Naked body scanners, by the way, which he owns a piece of course, that's just another coincidence. It has nothing to do with the agenda that's at play here. I mean, I remember the day after 9/11 when I lived in Austin, I went to the movies, and there was a police officer outside the movie theater, and I had dropped my girlfriend at the time off to buy tickets while I parked, and he asked me to move on, to not park in front of the movie theater. So there has been an emphasis on theaters in the war on terror, literally since day one. So we're probably, and frankly, I mean, we may see naked body scanners at the movie theaters, and because of this, people are just not going to object. Julio, I thank you for calling in. We got to move on. Mark from Arizona, do you have a question or comment for our guest?
Well, hello. Stephanie, you know who I am. I went out to the sites here in Tucson with Stephanie, and I can personally attest that I witnessed a few bizarre things myself. One of the things I noticed was one of the Pima County Sheriff deputies that were pictured on one of the crime scene photos is connected to the Pablo Escobar drug cartel down in, where's that, Mexico, I believe?
No, that's was in Colombia. Stephanie, can you verify this?
I cannot verify that, but I do have information that there is a person that verifies that the man that was in the photo, even though we know that photo of the Escobar killing was photoshopped by telling by the blood on, they show the same blood on the same stone many times, so we know it's been tampered with. But there is information that he was in town for a 24-hour period the day of the shooting.
In town, and you're talking about Tucson?
Yes.
Who was in town?
His first name is Armando. I don't have the name, but
okay.
He's listed as Armando, and that's unconfirmed at this point. I'm still looking into that.
Okay. Well, there's plenty of stuff out there that you have confirmed that we can pin down. I thank you for calling, Mark. We're going next to Steve. Steve from Massachusetts. Do you have a question or comment for our guest?
Yeah, I was just wanting to mention this is selective, media targeting. They want to target all lawful gun owners. When you see it in Albany, I'm living in Massachusetts, but in Albany, I met this guy, and he was out of Roy Rogers, and he's like, yeah, they caught the guys. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? Because, yeah, someone shot, he was sitting on his porch, and some teenagers, they shot him with a gun in the head. He had an eye patch. I'm kind of a little bit surprised that this guy was alive, and he only had an eye patch. He got shot in the head, and he was just sitting on his porch. And so as I heard the story, he told me, yeah, they caught them because they shot a postal worker, and then they caught the kids. And then when I got home, I researched it. I found a tiny little article mentioning it. It didn't mention this gentleman, which happened months earlier, but there's no media attention to it. I'm even scrubbing to look for it, and that's a pretty major thing. You're sitting in Albany on the porch. I don't care what neighborhood you're in, and some teenage kids, it was a hate crime. They're shooting white people is what they were doing.
Wow. Well, it did not serve an agenda. Meanwhile, you see a local shooting in another state that is receiving the comment and editorial from the office of the President of the United States of America, which obviously means that there is an agenda at work. Thank you for calling. We have to move on to the next caller. Jim from Minnesota. Jim, do you have a question or comment for our guest, Stephanie Sledge?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, you are on air.
Am I on?
Yes, you are, sir.
I am just wondering if anybody has given any thought to the idea that scalar weapons were used and/or mind control at a distance. If these people had any handlers.
Well, Stephanie, I believe that this story is not finished, and one cannot rule anything out. But you start from the most provable piece of evidence first, and you expand outward from there as far as the strength of the evidence can take you. And do you have anything to comment on that, Stephanie?
Well, I do. As far as any type of scalar weapons and all that, I have been looking into that too. I do know there's a couple of agencies that have close ties to the shooting. One is the RAND Corporation. Also, Raytheon has come up, as well as the Hess Corporation. And so at this point, I'm still looking into those leads right now, but I do know that as far as the RAND Corporation, they're the close ties to the FEMA region out there.
The RAND Corporation is a think tank for the Defense Department and the CIA. They have done that from the beginning. That's their primary purpose, that they produce policy papers for intelligence and deep state events and the military. And if RAND is involved in this, that definitely means there's an agenda at work.
Absolutely. And also, too, I'd like to back up a little bit and address the caller that talked about the TSA. There is a fact sheet that was released by the TSA. It's called the Inner City Bus Security Grant Program, and it did list projects that were eligible for funding. And in those projects, it did list, and I believe it's number 4 on the list, the conducting live or simulated drills. So, these can go live at any moment, and this is an example of one of those live drills. Exactly.
That's another sign of the methodology of the false flag attack, is these concurrent drills, military intelligence, police exercises. This is how they move the assets in place. This is how they execute the crime. And then it's also the method of cover-up, because it's compartmentalized. Everyone says, oh, it's just a drill. It wasn't the real thing. Anyways, you're listening to The Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back. We're still taking calls on the shooting and the recent one in Colorado. Welcome back to The Alex Jones Show. We are talking to Stephanie Sledge in this final segment of this hour. We just got a last-minute surprise guest for the next hour, which we'll be moving to. I'll tell you about it after this. But we're taking callers talking about the Tucson shooting and correlations to the shooting in Colorado. Let's go to Alicia in PA. Alicia, can you hear? Do you have a question or comment for our guest, Stephanie?
Hello?
Elijah.
Hello?
Elijah
Yes.
in PA. Do you have a question or comment?
You have a question. I was in the military, 82nd Airborne. You don't just go and pick up munitions and, booby trap bombs. And, that takes training and even then, years of experience where it took experts, a day, 2 days to take this, take those booby traps apart.
Yeah, you're talking about the Aurora shooting. Yes, go ahead.
No one's talking about that. It would take experts, probably more than one, to set up, booby traps that are that complicated. This boy had no background in anything like that. He had no background in guns.
Well, yeah, he did not come from a shooting background, so the shooting in the theater is problematic. But, there are a lot of things that you can discover on the internet, and by all accounts, this kid was a bright kid. By all accounts, he was pretty smart, and he was a science whiz. And he did tell the police officers about the booby traps in his apartment. But yes, that could be problematic, and we do need to look at the sophistication of the man traps that he put up in his apartment, see if it was beyond his capability or any of the capability that he could have got from any other resources. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I don't know if you're in the military or not, but
I used to be in the Marines, in Marine Infantry, yes. I worked with explosive demolitions.
Yeah, well, you know that, C4, C3, whatever it is, you can read all you want. You're not going to be able to set up stuff that complicated to where you got experts going in there. That would be beyond something you'd learn on the internet. You'd probably blow yourself up trying to do that, and he's in an apartment building. But anyway, that's all I had to say. The whole thing.
Oh, it stinks to high heaven. High heaven.
Some great points, Elijah. That's what we ran across in the Oklahoma City case. When you look at the funding, the expertise, the level of training needed, and that was one of the first underpinnings that fell out immediately when the official narrative came out, and then you actually did reverse engineering, and we saw what it would take to actually put something like this together, and it absolutely no correlation. It was a complete mismatch.
Oh, yeah.
We were into something immediately.
It was an unreal hypothesis. Thank you for calling. We must go to the next caller. We're talking to Denise in Virginia. Denise, do you have a question or comment for Stephanie Sledge?
I have a comment. It's a little off topic, if you guys would just bear with me.
Make it quick. We have about 2 minutes.
I've been trying to wake up my son in San Diego because he was calling me and telling me that he is seeing so much happen so rapidly. I said, keep your eyes open. He said that he visits surfing spots, and he's never seen anything but maybe a ticket, kind of a police guy. And he said now all of a sudden he sees these 3 and 4 policemen in combat gear. He said they're 6'4", 6'5". They're huge on every corner now. He said that's happening. And then today,
unless there's going to be a mass shooting there, of course.
FSA has ordered, it's in their newspaper, the San Diego newspaper, the FSA has ordered 150 units of riot gear to be delivered in 15 days. He said this stuff is unveiling so fast that they can hardly keep up with it.
Exactly. Stephanie, give the audience your information, please, before we leave.
Well, I'm taking pre-orders for my report right now, which is about 400 pages, color photos of the investigation. You can go to the governmentrag.com, click on the top left-hand side that states investigations, and you can read about it there, and you can pre-order the report and get the word out.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us. This is not Alex Jones, but it is the Alex Jones Show. I am the guest co-host today, Friday, July 27th, 2012. I am Holland van de Nieuwenhof, writer and producer for Free Mind Films, which released A Noble Lie late last year. I also have